Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Chris coming at you with another episode to the Beautiful Struggle podcast. And this is episode number 77, where we talk about business and personal development all on one podcast. We drop a new episode every single Monday of the week. So if that sounds like something interesting to you, feel free to subscribe and share this episode with one other person that may need to hear this podcast. I think you guys are in for a treat today because we do have another guest on the podcast. I'm very excited for you guys to hear this conversation and just hear the value that's going to be given back in this podcast. So just real quick, typically when I reach out to my guests, I reach out to them and then I schedule an introduction call and then we eventually have the podcast. Well, I'm not going to lie, on the introduction call, I was already getting tremendous value and I was taking notes already. And so I'm excited for you guys to hear this conversation and hear what my guest has to say. So a little bit about my guest. She is a social entrepreneur, a speaker, business coach. On Instagram, she's known as a monetization strategist. She's also the CEO and founder of Nerdy Girl, a personal and professional development company that is designed to develop smart women to be confident. And I'm sure there's other things that she's got working on as well. But with that
Yeah.
being said, welcome Monica Stockhausen. How you
What's
doing?
up, y'all? I'm good. Chris, thank you so much for having me. Like I said on the
Absolutely.
phone call, there's just so much alignment here with the
Yeah,
personal development piece. I love that we're talking about this. I think people need to hear it. So shout out to you for holding us down with this.
absolutely. I appreciate it. And like I said, on our call, it was pretty valuable. And I'm not going to lie, there's some things that we spoke about on that call that I'm already applying to my life. So thank you. Thank you for that. I
Let
appreciate you.
me know so I can tell
Yeah.
that. Okay.
Right. So, yeah, again, I appreciate you giving us a piece of your time and hopping on the podcast today. We always appreciate that. Typically on this podcast, we like to start off with your background and your upbringing, where you came from, and kind of walk us through the process on how you got to this point that you're at right now.
Man, well, that's a long story. Let me try to
Yeah.
shorten that a little bit.
Okay.
Well, I am IE bred, Inland Empire bred, Rialto, California. That's where I'm from.
Okay.
I graduated from Cal State, San Bernardino, go Yotes. Got my
Yeah.
master's in New York City in
Mm.
organizational leadership, blah, 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 all that. And then something really big in my life shifted where I became a professor very young. So I became a professor very young at 24, and that was through just strategy. I had built a relationship with the department chair, became my mentor. He moved to a different school. And in the midst of trying to figure out what the heck I was going to do with my life, because I had just got my master's, I was working in career development, youth development at that time at a high school. That's something that I had did all my life
Mm.
throughout my college career. And then I said, well, what are you going to do now? You got your master's, but with no direction. What the heck do you
Mm.
do? So I had decided that I was going to go to Costa Rica. I was just going to book it, teach English out there, and I was just going to figure it
Wow.
out from there. But then I had a meeting with that department chair. His name is Ben
What school is
Mayengo.
this?
This was a for-profit school called, it was like Long Island Business Institute at the time. I
Gotcha.
don't know if
In
it's
New
still
York.
called that. Yeah, in New York City.
Gotcha.
So I went to just go check in, get a letter of rec from him, and just catch up. But he saw something in me that I, at that time, did not see myself. He saw me present my theses. He saw me he read my theses. He said, you could really teach here. I said, what?
Mm.
Teach where? Here? You mean where people are 10 times my age? I don't know. I
Right,
don't
right.
think so. And he showed me, he pulled out the catalog. He said, look, you do well here, here, here. And I was like, wow, you know what? You're actually right about that. I could possibly do this. And then I asked myself, I said, well, Monica, what do you have to lose? You have nothing to
Mm.
lose. Your pride? Sure.
Mm.
So I applied and I did an interview and I was hired the day on the spot.
Mm.
They said, you start Friday. And I said, I don't know if I can curse on here, but I
No,
was like,
do what you got to do.
oh shit, just
Yeah.
being a professor. And then it really set in. I was like, oh shit, like I really became
Mm.
a professor. Like, what the hell do I do now?
Hmm.
Where do I start? So that completely catapulted my experience, my professional experience, because I've now had access to things I've never had access to, access to people I never had access to. I had a level of prestige, a perceived prestige that came along with that title, and a level of respect and reputation all of a sudden. I moved back to California, and then end up landing a position at Cal State San Bernardino, and then also Chapey College teaching. And I've been doing that for 5-6 years. But in the midst of that, I had decided to really go hard with starting my first business, which is Nerdy Girl LLC, which is the workforce development program, helping women to become confident, courageous, and competitive in the U.S. job market. That was important to me because I was scared as hell to negotiate my salary in front of men, scared as hell to stand up for myself in the workplace. I was nervous as hell to be confident. I felt like I was easily intimidated a lot of the time. Yet I was in these very male-dominated places. I mean, a professor, your ideal professor is what? Male, 50 plus.
Yeah.
You know, completely male-dominated. And I felt like there was this gap in my personal development. And I was like, well, I had a lot of mentors and I still had these gaps. So I wonder if other women, what are other women doing? So I created a space. I created like this 3-day intensive seminar to help women upgrade themselves professionally. Headshots, life coach, emotional intelligence coach, literally revamp their whole professional lives and go get, like, take life by, like, just go get the things that they've been looking for. And that was successful. And then outside of that, I then got into business coaching because folks saw the success that I had with my first business and said, well, how do you start? I said, okay, cool. I'm going to help you guys figure this out. Then that blew up in the pandemic because anybody wanted to start a business in the pandemic. And then I was able to, from there, leverage that experience and leverage that information and turn it into a premium program in which now I've built that from, you know, a 4-figure business to a 5-figure business. And this year I'm going to hit my 6 figures this year with that business alone. And so it's been a very progressive timeline, but also very random.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've just let life kind of reveal itself to me and be like, well, you're going to do it or you're not. What's going to happen? And so I'm a quick starter. So I lean all the way in, and this is where I am right now, and no regrets at this point.
What are some of the things that you learned from being a professor at such a young age? Shout out to Cal State San Bernardino and Chapey. I went to those schools as well. But what are some of the things that you learned at such a young age being a professor?
If you're good at what you do, then show off. Show off. I think a lot of the time, and obviously I'm speaking from my own limited experience, a lot of the time we will be damn good at what we do, but we would be riddled with insecurity. We've put so much time in our space, but yet we have the audacity to show up insecure in many places. And it taught me how to own my stuff because I knew a lot about business even before teaching. And obviously I increased my business acumen as I taught more. But the more confident I was when I kept checking my receipts about what I've done and what I've accomplished and my results. And I walked in that space with those, with that kind of heavyweight feel. I feel like my energy transferred to the students. And you have to consider, I'm a young Black woman walking in that class. First of all, they don't even think that I'm the professor half of the time.
They think you're a student.
All of the time.
Right.
So the initial insecurity was they're not going to believe me. They're gonna come for me, right? They're gonna try to make me feel incompetent. But those were all illusions. I just had to really trust myself that I knew what I was doing and that I prepared also. So it wasn't just jumping in. I spent hours and hours and hours sharpening my craft and knowing what I know and experiencing and implementing. And I had to trust those moments. And I think as high achievers, we forget about those things a lot. We forget about the work that we put in. We forget about the huge accomplishments we have. And that's why we walk into a space thinking that we're not enough. we completely forget about all the things that we've done. So it taught me how to bring my experience to the table. You want to see at the table? Sure. But bring your experience with you. Bring your perspective with you. Honor those things. Honor the 5-10 years you've been in the game. I tell my clients all the time, because they struggle with that. I said, you are not new to this. You are true to this. This is just you showing up, your expertise showing up in a different format. And that's something that I had to learn, was that I wasn't new to this. I was true to this, and that I was going to show up with my unique perspective, with my unique business acumen, and show out. And it worked for me. So we're going to keep doing
Wow.
that.
Wow. That's amazing. So talk about you transitioning from being a professor into nerdy girl. Talk about maybe some of the early struggles that you had, some of the fears that you had to deal with, going from being a paid employee to having your own business and helping other women get to the next level of success. Talk about that.
Yeah. Well, my journey is a little complicated because
Mm-hmm.
Nerdy Girl has started in college before I even became a professor. And it was just a
Got you.
t-shirt line. And I tell people this all the time. I'm saying, your idea will be as good as you.
Mm-hmm.
So the more that you educate yourself, the more that you experience, the more your idea will develop. I had no idea that in college, this t-shirt line would become a workforce development program for women. What?
Yeah,
But,
that's crazy.
becoming a professor, getting my master's, building, interacting with the community of entrepreneurs, that aided in the transformation of my idea. And so for a long time, I had a 9 to 5, I was teaching, and I was running my business. So I was still trying to find ways to make money,
Mm.
because I
Right,
wasn't,
right.
I wasn't yet stable to go off on my own until I think it was 2019, where I went off on my own. And the game changer, or the shift for me that allowed me to go on my own, was not just confidence or taking a risk. It was investing in a coach. That was
Mm.
where I wanted to go. I think the conversation around taking that leap is a bit misconstrued.
Yeah.
Um, it doesn't look the same for everybody. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
had different things going on that made me really, really tired. And thus I wasn't giving the high level work that I was doing. And so I had to make a choice to drop something.
Mm.
And with all this education that I have and all this experience, it was time to bet on Monica.
Mm.
This $100,000 education that I have, it was time
Mm.
to put it to use. And I was
Put it
in
to use.
a fork in the road, where I had everyone in the professor realm and the more traditional friends were saying, well, your next step is your PhD, right?
Mm.
And I love the idea of being
Mm.
Dr. Stockhausen,
Doctor.
for sure, right? Like, I love that, right? It really stroked my ego. But there was nothing, um, the financial aspects and the time spent was not something that I was interested in anymore, after at already accomplishing my master's degree. And I was looking at the debt, my debt to income ratio. I had to calculate the cost
Mm-hmm.
of that. And I was like, ego stroke or more debt.
Right.
And I had to make that real decision. I had to think about my income trajectory, where I wanted to go. And I think that's important, that people are not seeing education as this investment. They're seeing it as this very emotional thing, because that's how it's been
Mm.
marketed. Oh,
Yeah.
education is the key to say, yeah, it is, but
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be in, institutional style all the time. So I had to really shift to be a little bit more logical about that decision. I said, well, where is it that you're trying to go, and what is the lifestyle that you're trying to have? And the PhD wasn't going to get me there. I wanted to travel. I wanted to run my business. I didn't need a PhD for that. If I wanted to do research and continue my faculty journey, then I wanted to do that. But I decided, I was like, well, I actually don't want to stop here at faculty. That means I've
Mm.
stopped experiencing business and I've stopped experiencing life. And that means I'm capped out on
Mm.
what I have to offer. And I don't like that. So I had to make a big decision: PhD or entrepreneurship. I said, look, I've already invested $100,000 in myself. Let me invest. I think I invested maybe 10,000 more on coaching, business coaching. And that's crazy, right?
Wow.
$100,000 in like masters, bachelors versus like $20,000 in business courses. And which one really made me the money? It was the business courses that I paid 10 grand for, you know what I mean? And so that was a decision I made in 2019. And it has been a thrill since then. And it was a struggle initially because I had to quit my 9 to 5, which was scary. That was secure income. But I was able to get unemployment, and then I had my part-time teaching to hold me over. So for the first 3 to 6 months, it was tough. It was really tough. And because now the pressure was on me to figure out how am I going to make this a thing. And business coaching wasn't a thing yet. It was still nerdy girl.
Right.
So I had to figure out, using all the coaching that I had and so forth, how was I going to make this thing? But I was willing to make it work. So I got sick at that time because of the pressure, the amount of pressure that I put on myself. I had caught some type of rare virus. It wasn't coronavirus at the time. It was something else that I had like rashes all over my body.
Wow.
Itchy. I was bedridden. I was hospitalized because of the intensity of it all. And then I just decided that, you know, in that moment, I said, I want to make sure that I run my business in a way that is not working against me and against my body and against my mind and against my heart. Because what's the point of it all if I'm in the hospital? That hit me like a ton of bricks. What's the point of it all? I want a high quality of life, a beautiful quality of life, and I'm in the hospital. But yet you see the narrative is hustle, no sleep.
Yep. Talk about it.
And it's a lie. We shouldn't have to sacrifice our bodies and our minds and our hearts in order to get these very materialistic things. I believe that you can create a business experience that works for you and honors how you naturally and instinctively work and still have the material things that you desire. And that shift for me was so important because it showed me that I can create whatever experience that I wanted and that I didn't have to subject myself to whatever the current narrative was or the current status quo for entrepreneurship. And that's hard. I had to unfollow some folks on Instagram.
Yeah.
If they were speaking that language, I was like, nah, unfollow, because I don't believe in that. And that's why I'm on this podcast, because I feel like the Beautiful Struggle podcast believes in what I believe in, is that honor your psychological or personal development on the way to achieving the things that you want to in business. So that shift for me was crucial. Not that I completely wrote into it and was like, yeah, I got the, you know, I understand everything. It still took a while for me to really implement that as part of my lifestyle principle. But getting sick was a huge shift in saying that, Monica, you have to find a better way to do this. So I invested in another coach.
Wow.
I'm no longer scared to invest.
No, absolutely. I was gonna say it's what you said is so true. You know, we live in a society where it's all about the hustle, and I'm transitioning into like bettering myself on the sense like, okay, I take care of myself as far as, you know, health wise and physically, but we don't talk about the mental aspect in entrepreneurship nearly as much as we should. And like you said, all the pressure, the stress, it literally got you sick. And we have to ask ourselves, what's the point of hustling and, you know, dreaming big and working hard if we can't even get to a point where we're gonna enjoy the fruits of our labor? You know what I'm saying? And that's something that you talked about on our first call, where you were kind of giving advice, and you were saying, look, you know, it's okay not to take that meeting. It's okay to not feel the pressure of have to post every day on social media just to keep up with everybody. That's what I was applying to myself when I mentioned earlier. this week I was like, there was a couple calls and couple meetings. I was like, look, you can just go ahead and handle that yourself. I don't need to be on it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, talk
You have
about
the
it.
power to do that. And it is the idea of taking ownership back over our lives, because we've been dictated by the industry that we work in, how we're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to live our lives, how transparent we can be with people. Everything has been dictated. So now transitioning to entrepreneurship is a full body, full mental, full emotional shift and experience,
Mm-hmm.
where we're now taking ownership over how we process things, how we think, what we say
Mm-hmm.
yes to, what we say no to. And it's new for me,
Mm-hmm.
honestly,
Mm-hmm.
having this much ownership over my money and my
Right.
life, all my decisions. I'm still trying to figure out how to manage guilt when I don't take the
Mm-hmm.
call.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
So what I have a quick question, not to cut you off. What would you say to the person like myself, where we weren't brought into this world with a silver spoon in our mouth, or we had to really work for everything that we really want and we have, and we feel like, look, I can't afford to take a break. I can't afford to take a day off because that time that I take off, that could have been my opportunity. Or, I have to work this hard just to keep up with that person because I don't have the same luxuries as them. What would you say to that person that feels like they need to work and they need to hustle all day long, and like they feel like, man, because I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I can get like this where I got to tell myself, right, look, Chris, it's okay to take the day off and just hang out with wifey.
Yeah, I think it's because the drive in people like us is not coming from the inside, it's coming from the outside.
Mm,
So it's the idea of trying to keep, when you said those words, use that language, keeping up with someone else. That is not your purpose. Your purpose is not to keep up with someone else because you think that they're going to take what you have.
mm,
All of that language is coming from a very deficit experience and lack thereof of experience. And you said that. You said, I didn't come from nothing. So I got to work for everything that I have. Actually, in this new world we in, you actually don't have to work that hard to get the things that you deserve it
mm,
regardless. I
mm,
think it's a mind shift that has to happen. You're not grinding for the sake of other people. Your ambition is not derived externally. Your ambition should be created because of your purpose and your mission. And
mm,
so having that conversation with yourself, well, what is my mission? What is my purpose? For example, my mission, I want to help people become economically stable. And so all of my decisions, whichever opportunities come my way, I look for alignment with what my mission is. Is it going to help me fulfill my mission as a
mm,
purpose? Right. So I just got called, someone asking me to be on a board. Buzzwords, my love buttons, economic development, they said, and entrepreneurship and workforce development. I said yes.
mm,
If somebody else comes to me and doesn't give me those words and I don't see the alignment there, I'm saying no. And thus, my impact is driven by what's inside of me and not what's
mm,
outside. And to think that there is this limited amount of opportunities and only one person can have it and somebody's going to steal it's a lie.
mm,
What is for you, thus then you can relax
mm.
regardless. The energy that you
Yeah.
are putting out with your content, with the work that you do and the impact, people are coming, things that you can't even see. And that's a trip too. A lot of the time I'm getting messages and DMs, and you probably have the same DMs where people are like, I know I never like, and I know I never share, but this video changed my
Yeah.
life.
Mm.
You know. But then in your mind, when you post, you're like, oh, that wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
Right? Or,
Yeah.
oh,
I,
I gotta work harder. There are conversations that you are in. Your content is starting conversations you're not in. Your name is being brought up in rooms you have not
mm.
entered because you're
Wow.
not focused on that. You are producing. You are in purpose, and you're growing, and you're shifting, and you're doing the work that is fulfillment to you. It doesn't matter what anybody else is doing, and
Mm.
that's what we should focus on and redirect our attention to is what we want our impact to be. So for the entrepreneurs out there, it's time for you to really sit down and determine, what does success look like for you? What does impact look like for you? This is important, and it's going to change with every level of success that you experience, because initially success was money for me because I was broke. I was like, yeah, success looks like six figures, six figures to me. But now that I have it, I'm like, oh, no. Now that I have it, it's impact now. I want to make sure that I'm helping people become economically stable through business and or workforce development. So if anything comes my way, within the psychological impact too, right? Personal development, if anything comes my way with that, I'm saying yes to, because it is furthering out my mission as a person. Thus, I can relax because my ambition and my drive in regards to that is not dependent on outside factors. It's not dependent on where you come from. It's not dependent on other people who are doing better than you or in your lane. None of that matters. So you can take the day off, because you are not going to miss the opportunity that was meant for you. It will come to you regardless.
Wow.
It's going to come to you regardless. You're going to get an email. You're going to get a DM. You're going to get what is supposed to be for you, because you've attracted that with the work that you're currently doing. You don't know that yet because it's happening as you post.
Right.
When it comes, you're like, now I don't even see things anymore. I just do my work. Positions come, yes or no. That's it. I'm going to sleep at 9 o'clock.
Yeah. God doing the work for you in the background.
Just do what you're supposed to do. Yeah. Live out your purpose. And if for the entrepreneurs out there, you need to have some self-time. Write out what you want your impact to be. Write out what you want your success to be, so that when opportunities come, you can say yes and no. And when certain experiences come, you can say yes and no. And when you're tired, you can say, yeah, I need to rest, because I know for the next opportunity, I need to make sure I'm maximizing that opportunity. What would it look like if I was working all day, every day, then jump on this podcast and I can't even think because I'm so tired?
Yeah.
It's those ideals are just conflicting, and so there has to be a shift in where we are placing or deriving our ambition from, and it should be your own personalized custom mission that makes you feel good about living the life that you live.
Man, I love that. This is a therapy session right now. No, but I wanted to ask you about something you said in a previous podcast. You said God has given everyone a skill set and a market. Could you dive a little bit into that? I thought it was super interesting when you said that. I've never heard of someone saying that. So you want to dive into it a little bit?
No. So I've always thought it was so interesting that to explore the idea about what is innate in us and what we have naturally, or what is innate and we still need to build a little bit, and how every person kind of brings something unique to the table. Like, where does that come from? So for folks who are faith-based, they'll say God, spiritual, the universe, whatever it is, you were given a certain purpose and skill set and ability and a perspective that creates your own lane with it too. Because come on, I'm a business coach. There's so many business coaches out there, but specifically I'm a monetization strategist for professionals who want to monetize their skill set or their expertise outside the 9 to 5. That's a specific lane because of my perspective. And I believe that this very skill set is the very thing that will give me the livelihood and the lifestyle that I've always wanted and deserved. And it's not until we honor what is already in us from the get-go that we realize that this very thing, or all of our experiences, is supposed to be used to help the next person, not for free, but in a way that is profitable for you and meets the needs of that audience. And if one person has that gap or that need or the unmet need, chances are 1,000, 100,000 people also have that need, and there goes the market. And so even in my journey, as I realized my ability to quick start, my ability to innovate, my ability to create and implement and design, These are all things that were in me long ago.
Mm.
Yes, school amplified it, master's amplified it, being a professor amplified it, like really sharpened it. And now that I've took those expertise and those skill sets to the marketplace, I didn't realize how many people needed those skills in my market. Now there's many people who have similar skill sets like me, but they're in different markets. They're in Georgia or,
Right.
in international, they're in different
Right.
places. And everybody needs a you in their market. Everybody needs a me in their little bubble of market. And I thought it released me of certain negative energy that I had about trying to find it is that's for me, instead of just trying to tap into what's already in me. And the way that I tap in is looking at my receipts. There's like a constant pattern of my skill set through all of the jobs I've ever had.
That's good. Yeah.
I'm like, so they hired me for this, and I did this, this, and this, and I produced this, and this, and all of these. So I'm like, I'm gonna take all of those and I'm gonna see what market needs those, and I'm gonna create a product that meets the need. And it's stuff that comes naturally to me and stuff that I love to do. I was like, if it's in me, that means it's in everybody else too. I need everybody to tap in.
Everybody needed to tap in. So that product you created is the monetization, being a monetization strategist, correct?
Yeah.
So you want to talk about a little bit more about that and how you help these business experts?
Yeah. So this came out of nowhere. I was not expecting to become a monetization strategist or a business coach for that matter. But after I had healed from the sickness and I was going into building my Nerdy Girl platform, I had a lot of inquiries in my DM about helping people negotiate their salaries and all these other things. So one day I had a very specific inquiry that said, hey, can you help me negotiate? I need support with negotiating contracts. I said, cool, that's in my real house. I'll take the call. I had no business structure whatsoever. I'm a quick starter, so I just jump in. I don't let like research facts limit me. I'll look at the research and facts later, but I just jumped right in. So I took the call, helped her out tremendously, which I was really blessed by. Then she said, well, how can I keep you? And I said, well, it's this price. It's totally low about myself at that time. This price. And she's like, okay, great. So it's monthly. And I was like, okay. So then I put out a flyer. I said, there's some traction here. I think other people need this. Or let me tap into what else I have to offer. So I made a little flyer on Canva. I said, I can help with this, this, and this. Free coaching, 30-minute. Let's just figure it out. With back-to-back calls.
Wow.
I mean, I was tired. I didn't even realize. I was like, and I was converting too. I was converting folks into monthly business clients. It wasn't until about 6 months or 7 months in where I started calling myself a monetization strategist, because that 6 months of coaching, I started to figure out what lane I wanted. So a lot of folks like to try to figure out things in the very beginning. I'm big on letting the experience show you and teach you what's going on, right? So as I was taking clients, I was like, oh, I don't like to do that. Oh, I like that. I started thinking like, oh, this is my lane. I like to help people start and to monetize the very thing that they have inside of themselves, or in better monetize different packages and programs. Like I'm really good at that. And the experience taught me that. There was no way I would have known that beforehand. So after that, I knew that I was like, I got something really good here. So I invested in another coach. She was able to amplify my current coaching and putting into a premium experience. And at no point did the coach tell me how to coach. She was just giving me simple business strategy on how to create a framework, a formula, how to market and sell it. And that is the very thing. That's when monetization strategists became a thing, because now I had really focused in on my niche and my lane and who I was wanting to help and how I was helping them. The monetization verbiage came from the outcome I was giving people. So I use everything that comes up.
Yeah.
I don't have to search for anything. I'm just
It's all in
diving,
you.
I just dived into the experience. So I thought about the outcome that people were wanting when they came to me and their pain point. They said, Monica, I want to make money from this. How do
Mm,
I monetize this? You have the
mm,
strategy. Boom. I'm a monetization strategist. That's what I do. And it resonates.
wow.
Even my program is called Proven. It's called Proven because all of my clients or potential clients were looking for a proven strategy. They were tired of hacks and different formulas that weren't giving them longevity. They were looking for a proven strategy that they knew would work. So my program is called Proven.
Mm,
So everything, there's nothing that I was searching for. I just needed to be aware of what was going on and honor
mm,
what I was experiencing and taking time to write these things down so I don't forget it or miss it because I'm doing a trillion other things. And
mm,
sometimes you do need a coach to be able to show you because you've been, doing the groundwork about
mm,
what you've been doing and what your clients have been asking for. And so I now, because I have those titles, I'm confidently in the marketplace. Why? Because I know exactly why people need me.
mm,
I know exactly what people come to me for, and I know exactly what I could provide because I sat my ass down and had that conversation with myself and wrote it down. Created language around my results, created language around my impact, created language about the type of clients that I like to work with. So now I'm not going into the marketplace blindsided. I'm going into marketplace knowing exactly what I have to offer. Thus, that energy in my videos and my content,
mm.
your people can feel that.
Yeah.
We're like, she confident. I trust her. I want to build a relationship with her. I'm gonna convert. Usually, my conversion is like 90 days. I'm gonna convert in 90 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's important to tap in and be aware of what's going on so that you can figure out your lane. And so that's how monetization strategist came. It came through letting the experience reveal to me what the magic I've been doing.
Mm. Something you mentioned a lot throughout this conversation so far is investing in a coach or mentors. I mean, I know how impactful it can be for anybody, but talk about how impactful it has been for you, being willing to invest tens of thousands of dollars into a coach. And yeah, talk about that and how it's helped you out.
Man, it's first of all, it was tough.
And
Okay.
why should people do the same?
Man, okay. This is a good conversation, Chris. Just for, have you ever invested in a coach?
Yes,
Okay. And so your initial first investment is tough to make
it is.
because you've never invested in yourself in this way. You've never put money
Mm-hmm.
on your vision like this. You're putting money where your mouth is. You're like, you're nervous because you don't know the ROI. Even though
You
you
don't
trust this
know.
person, you're like, dang, all this money is leaving my account right now. That's all you can think about.
Yeah.
So my first investment was $2,500, which at that time was so much to me because I didn't really have it.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, to be fair, it is a lot because even to people nowadays, that hearing that $2,500 like
for a coach,
for a
they're like,
conversation.
for a convers right? And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's more than a conversation. You have to
Facts.
change your perception on
Mm-hmm.
what you think it is.
Talk about it.
Because I made that $2,500 back off of one tool that coach gave me.
Yep. Yep.
So it was like, oh, so that was important for me too to see the experience in that these coaches are providing. This is not some are, courses that are not live, but the coaches that I invest in, and I stalk my coaches before I buy, they are live, and I want that live one-on-one or group experience because I know me and
Mm-hmm.
how I learn. So I'm willing to pay for that. But it's definitely an amazing experience. It's a mind shifter, and if you're in a community, you get to see how other people are moving. You get so much more than a
Yeah.
conversation. So that first $2,500 was helping me to learn how to market my Nerdy Girl business, which gave me the confidence to leave that other job too. And then the next coach that I invested in was this was a big one. It's still big to me. $66,500 for a coach. And
Wow.
that was 6 months out from me starting coaching and realizing that I had something magical and that I really wanted to turn it into something premium. I feel like every time you invest and you make it, there's another level that you're still scared of.
Yeah.
It
levels.
relieves
Yep.
you.
Hmm.
But it also, once you start investing, it's hard to stop because you're seeing the impact and you're seeing the
Yeah.
profitability. You're seeing things change in your mind and your money and your bank account. So you're like, I'm starting low-key start spoiling myself with
Hmm.
courses and coaches now. So that was a big one. But that coach in and of itself changed the game for me completely.
Mm.
Took my income from making 3K a month to 25,000 a month. So that was completely worth it, right? Because I invested $6,500, made $25,000, and continually
Mm.
make anywhere from $18,000 to $25,000 a month. So um, you have to trust your coach. You have to build a relationship with them. I would say, get in on their Facebook groups, do all that to make you feel secure in making that investment, because in the marketplace, you will have frauds. You will have people with
Mm.
no integrity. So I would say,
Yeah.
don't just invest in anything. Really follow
Mm.
them. Take time to read their content. Go to their website. If they have any free calls, if they have any free workbooks, go in. Ask other people that follow them, have you ever worked with them? Because if you're going to invest
Mm.
this large amount of money, you want to be sure of the outcome. Same thing with my clients. My high ticket service is $3,000 and it's worth every penny when they leave. But even in those conversations, they're like, Monica, this is the most I've ever spent on myself. And they're nervous about it. And I completely understand, because we have not been taught to do
Mm.
this.
Yeah.
We have not been taught to invest in ourselves in this way before. And it's really instilling a higher level of consciousness and confidence in myself to know that I can really, truly bet on myself.
Yeah.
And not only that, I can see the return.
Yeah.
It's a psychological experience that everybody should experience. And if you don't have it, prepare for it. Prepare. Say, hey, that price tag is high right now, but you know what? I'm going to save for myself, just like you save for that travel, that trip. Save for
Hmm.
yourself, because this is the very thing that's going to take you to that next level and that next phase in your life. You need someone to take you to a new phase. You don't know what you don't know. That's it.
Exactly.
So if
Yeah.
this coach is in where you want to be, let them take you to the promised land at their fee. It's
Mm.
only right that you pay that fee, because what they give you, they cannot take away
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
ever.
Absolutely.
And they have it forever, and they're going to give it to other people. So it's only right that coaches are compensated appropriately, because
Hmm.
the information my coach gave me, oh, I done flipped it, turned it into something else.
Yeah. I know you've seen that post. Probably came out like a week ago, where someone said, when people pay, they pay attention. If you wouldn't have, I'm not saying you, but most people, if they were to like, have a conversation with that coach and they would have gave them the same value, who knows if they would have applied it. But if you're paying $6,000, $10,000 for a coach, you better best believe I'm gonna apply it and pay attention.
You think I missed a meeting paying $6,000?
Right.
Even
Right.
if I had to reschedule, I rescheduled well in advance.
Right. I heard that.
Not missing anything. Yeah, you have to have, I completely agree, Chris. You have to have skin in the game. You have to put your
Mm.
money where your vision is if you're really about it. If people, we just don't value things that we don't invest in, whether it's money
Yeah.
or time. We
Hmm.
don't place the same level of value that we do for the things that we actually have some
Yeah.
skin in the game for.
Yeah.
I respect that.
I was gonna say, obviously you can get a lot of value from people that give you information for free, but like you said, it's just something about paying somebody. It's just a different experience. It's hard to explain, but you like you said, you got to put your money where your mouth is for sure. Yeah. Something else I wanted to touch on is people needing validation and feeling like they need to be validated when starting a business. Whatever they're doing, they feel like they need to be validated from somebody else. Asking people, should I do this? Should I do that? And based on their answers, they'll do it. And sometimes I'll see people like post on Instagram or social media. They'll say, "Hey, would you guys support if I did this?" And in my mind, I'm like, look, I think you should just do it. Like, why are you asking? Just do it, and people are gonna support you. And if they don't, then you just keep the ball rolling. What do you say to the people out there that feel like they need that validation?
Again, it's a very external thing. It's a very external
Mm,
experience. I think that whenever you do anything, so whether it's a business or you're going into education, you are naturally looking for that support. So that's okay,
mm,
right? You are naturally looking for people to support you through whatever journey that you're going to be going to, because it is rough to do it alone. You want
mm,
to know that someone somewhere is going to have your back, right? That's not a bad thing. I think that that's a very natural human condition. I
mm,
think who we are seeking it from is the
mm.
question. You really need to be a part of an entrepreneurial community. And that's
Yeah,
what my proven program provides as well. Because taking advice from people who are not in business
yeah,
is not the best thing that you should do. It's not strategic, it's not wise, because they're not going to understand exactly why you do and why you have to do certain things. So I don't want to just say disregard wanting validation.
mm,
I think people are looking for the community and support them to cheer them on. And granted, you're not going to always have cheerleaders in this experience, but in the initial first steps, you do want a green light. Whether
yeah.
that green
That's
light
true.
comes from data or it comes from your family support, you do need that encouragement, right? I'm sure you've gotten encouragement from your wife. I've gotten
Hmm.
encouragement from my mentors. I've gotten encouragement from my business friends. But again, it was the who. They were able to say, you know what, you can do that because look at your receipts. You
Mm,
know what, that's a good idea because I saw that someone had this paper. I saw this group of people. They can fuel you with different type of insight that'll let you know that it's not just about my esteem. It's about my ability to produce out there. And so, yeah, we do want some validation, but to sit there and say, well, I'm not going to do it without it, then
mm,
you're not made for this life, because you're not going to get that every single time you put out a new product. You're not going to get the cheerleaders for you. You're not going to get everybody supporting you. People going to get tired of you in
mm.
general.
Yeah.
And that's just the experience. But again, tap into those entrepreneurial communities or the people who really understand what this journey is like, so that they can give you validation that is wise and that makes sense, and that doesn't is not necessarily part of your self-esteem.
Hmm.
You can have people hype you up, but that doesn't mean your product's going to be successful. Doesn't mean your
Right.
business is going to be successful. You're just kind of hyped up, and that doesn't really last long. So I
Yep.
think it's important, yeah, validation, especially when you start. I validate my clients all the time because they're so nervous and scared to go into the marketplace, and they need someone like me to amplify their
True.
expertise and their skill set and their product to say, yeah, there's confirmation here. Absolutely. But to seek it randomly without
Mm,
context from anybody who's anybody does you a disservice, because it's not sustainable. It's not the very thing that's going to fuel your business. It's not going to make your product successful. It's not going to do anything but hype you up. And if you can be hyped up, but if you don't have no strategy along with that and a entrepreneur community to really push you and challenge you, it's all for naught.
mm,
It's all for naught.
mm. Love that. Love that. Something else that you mentioned a lot in this podcast, in this conversation, you mentioned you're a quick starter, correct?
Yeah.
I've also heard you mention failing fast and learning quickly. You want to touch on that a little bit?
Yeah. So I think that really coincides, right? Being a quick starter
Yeah,
and a quick failure.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I am obsessed with personal development. So I took one of my coaches asked me to take a Colby test. And a
A
Colby
what
test,
test?
Colby, so it's Kolbe. It's
Got
an
you.
assessment that assesses your natural instinctive mode of operation while you're achieving. So, what
Mm-hmm.
is your action pattern when you are achieving? This is not when you're chilling, having a good time. How do you take action naturally and instinctively? And so, one of the
Mm,
things that came up was that I was a quick starter. And I said, you damn right. Like, I will think about something and just do it. I won't consider any external variables. I'll just get it done and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it will evolve along the way.
Mm-hmm.
So because I am a quick starter, I will run into a lot of failure that I probably could have prevented myself from had I
Mm-hmm.
just thought it through. But because of my relationship with failure, it doesn't faze me.
Mm.
So I failure used to hurt my soul. It used to really, like, I used to dwell on it, be like,
Yeah.
dang, if shoulda, coulda, woulda. It used to really hurt my confidence. But I realized,
Some people don't even start because of failure.
right,
I mean, yeah. I mean, the fear of failure, I should say.
because it hurts so bad. It's
Yeah.
like getting
Yeah.
burned. And it
Yeah.
depends,
Yeah.
like, the intensity of the failure too. Like, did you lose
Mm-hmm.
money? Did you lose a friend?
Yeah.
It's the intensity of it. So it's very normal to be scared of failing or looking incompetent. Let's really break it
Mm-hmm.
down. It's not failure, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
looking incompetent. It's looking like you don't know what you're doing. Well, it's the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
looking incompetent.
Right. Right.
It's
Right. Right.
being embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it's not meeting your goal, right? These are the real things that we're dealing with. But those scenarios and those ends, they don't exist. They don't
Mm-hmm.
exist yet. And so it is up to us in our power to create whatever experience or end goal that we want. And what I see with failure is now, because of that, I'm like, oh, so that didn't work. Well, let's try something else.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, that didn't work. Well, let me figure out who I need to really support me with that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, that didn't work. Maybe I need to redefine or rethink the pedagogy or the principle or something, the focus, the perspective that I'm looking through. It's really challenging me to think outside the box and to move
Mm-hmm.
forward. Success just teaches you, you're doing great. Keep doing what you're doing. Awesome. But if you are a person that is obsessed with growth and development, failure is your best friend, because
Mm-hmm.
it really shows you the gaps, your capacity, where you need to increase at. It also shows you where you are at your height, what part, where you need to develop, where you need to close the gap. It brings in different pieces, components that you need. Like, I was really, in my coaching, my initial coaching experience, I was really overwhelmed and tired. I was not submitting, sending emails back and replying. And in my mind, that was a failure. And really, that failure showed me that I needed an assistant.
Mm.
Like, I needed, like,
Yeah.
something else. So changing the relationship that you have with the perception that you have with failure is going to be
That's good.
crucial, because it's not about, I was going to say it's not about how it makes you feel, but it is. But it's how you interpret that feeling. Is it a
Yeah.
feeling of helplessness, or is it a feeling of wanting to grow, right? It's a growth
Mm-hmm.
mindset. Does failure put you in a growth or fixed mindset? Does it say, well,
Mm.
I'm terrible at this, I shouldn't do it, or actually I can get better at it? So that
Mm-hmm.
relationship, I think that shift and that change really
Yep.
created a completely different experience. I'm not resentful. I'm not bitter. I'm not none of that, because I'm not mad at anything that happened. I was just like, you remember that time where we effed
Mm-hmm.
up and that didn't work? Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's funny because the other day I was having a conversation with my wife, and we're just talking about, from time to time we talk about our goals, and like where we project ourselves in a couple months or even a couple years or something. And she was like, what are some of the things you want to accomplish and get done? And I'm not gonna lie, one of the things I said was, I want to do the things that make me scared. And she looked at, obviously we're two different people. She looked at me crazy, like, what do you mean? Like, we're in this together. But what I meant by that is, like, look, the things that scare me, the things that put fear in me most is typically what's going to allow me to be stretched and allow me to grow.
that's
So I
good.
was like, look, obviously I'm not going to put my family at risk. You know what I'm saying? I'm never going to do that. But the
Context.
things, yeah, right. But the things that scare me and may scare you, on the other side of that, if you can get over that, you either learn something or you either grow from it.
Everything you want. Will Smith said it. Everything you
Mm.
want is on the other side of fear.
Yep. Boom. Boom.
Oh,
I love it. I
get
mean,
that.
we can wrap it up on that note. Seriously, it's been a great conversation. It's been amazing. We're about to hit an hour pretty soon. Um, one last thing I have my guests do for the audience is leave one last gem. Anything that you want to leave them with, one last gem, one last piece of advice. It can be personal development, business related, life related, whatever you want it to be. Leave it for the audience, and we can end it on that note.
Yeah, this is for my young entrepreneurs out there, just like myself. You're
Mm,
not new to this. You are true to this.
mm,
Honor what you have. Tap into your magic. Take some time. Sit down. Create language around your impact. Show up
mm,
in the marketplace with confidence because you know exactly who you are and what you have to contribute. If you're going to take a seat at the table, know what you're contributing to the table. Honor who you are. Everything you need to move to the next phase of your life is
mm.
already inside of you. Get the mentorship you need, get the coach you need, do whatever it takes to amplify that. But it's already in you, y'all. Go get it. It's yours. And take a break. Go to sleep. Get some
Take a
rest.
break.
You're not going to lose
Boom.
the opportunity. It's for you.
She talking to me now. Boom. Boom. I love it. Where can people reach out to you? Where can people find you? I'll leave all the Instagram handles and websites in the description of this podcast. Talk to the people.
Yeah, Instagram is the main place for me at
Mm-hmm.
monica.stockhausen. And then
Mm-hmm.
if you want to go to my website, it's www.simplifyourstart.com. That's my proven method program. My IG again is monica.stockhausen. It's right there in the bottom of the description. I'll see y'all later.
Yep, yep. You guys heard how impactful this episode was. Share this episode with one other person that needs to hear this.
Yes.
Apply the information in this podcast. And on that note, it's your boy Chris, and I'll catch you guys next week. Peace.